Welcome to Welcome to Between Two Lattes. We're your hosts, Jessie Conta and Jane Dickerson.
You may recognize us from such highly celebrated shows such as this one.
Today's guest is Sarah Brown, Dr. Sarah Brown?
Dr.
Sarah Brown from St. Louis Children's Hospital. Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, I'm so happy to be here.
This is sunny Seattle. Sarah, let's get the lowdown. Can you please describe your role, your title, your accreditations, any licensures you may have?
Sure, so I'm,
In that order.
Cute.
Who are you, Sarah? For everyone.
I'm the Assistant Medical Director of the Core Lab at St. Louis Children's Hospital, and I'm also the founder and chair of St. Louis Children's Hospital's Laboratory Utilization Committee.
Right, that's impressive.
Kind of a big deal.
In your role as gatekeeper, for lack of a better word, what is one of the more aggravating or disappointing types of errors or behaviors that you see on a daily basis?
I think the most aggravating to me is what I call the Google orders.
Mm-hmm.
So a resident or even a full attending physician gets an idea of a test and they Google the test, find out that it exists at some lab, and they print out the requisition from that lab, draw the blood or collect the specimen, if it's not whatever it is, and send it to the lab. And then we have to scramble to figure out, is the lab a good lab? Is the sample the right sample? Is this test, does this test even have any utility?
Mm-hmm.
And the person who ordered the test hasn't
They don't really
investigated what we have online for them for as far as making decisions regarding test ordering. And when you try to call them to ask them some questions about the test, it's the test idea. The idea for ordering it was never their idea. It was always a consult from renal or from hemog or from their best friend or something.
We call that the not it game.
Not it.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
that's a fun one.
Sounds like a difficult conversation.
I was just going to say, I bet that leads to some challenging conversations. So can you share, if you've been in such a situation, any tips you can give us for how to navigate a difficult conversation?
As your personality allows.
Yes, well. So I think for difficult conversations, it's what I try to do, and you're probably not going to believe this, Jane, but I try to come alongside the person as a partner instead of as
Take some notes.
as a gatekeeper or a blocker. I try not to be difficult about it.
Let's just all take a break. We've just been in a very difficult place that you took us to with that conversation. Let's step back, Sarah, and think about where you could go in the future if you had all the tools and resources you needed. What is your UM dream?
My UM dream is to be a one-stop shop for all your laboratory needs.
Like Theranos.
No, not like Theranos.
Just kidding.
I want several mils of blood, and I would like the testing to always be performed on fully validated, CLIA and CAP accredited
It's a high bar.
That
laboratories.
is a new idea.
Yes. But seriously, I would like to offer complete support for all reference lab testing needs and even in-house testing needs. So, and ideally, I would like this to happen before a sample, the support given before a sample is ever drawn. I think when you have a sample in your hand, you feel a little more pressure as far as how you're going to adjudicate that test. But if the sample wasn't in question and the patient had it undergone an invasive procedure like a blood draw, you might feel a little less pressure, a little more time. You could investigate the test appropriateness a little more. You could investigate the best lab to send it to. You could make sure the proper paperwork was obtained, that the patients had the proper amount of counseling.
It's quite a dream.
Look into the financial part of it. So that is really what I would like to have, is sort of a pre-order test support.
Yeah.
Do you find that since your program has been in place for a while that people do call you in advance because they know
Yes,
they're using you as a resource, so they're kind of doing it already?
They do. I mean, we still have the Google orders like I mentioned earlier, but I do get emails, Dr. Brown, can I have this test? And
so they do see you as a
they
gatekeeper.
they do, and in some ways it's good. In some ways,
yeah,
I don't want them to see me as the
colleague.
person, a colleague, and not the person who's the giver and taker aware of tests.
I don't know. It sounds nice.
It's pretty powerful.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so since you clearly have thought a lot about this and you're leading in this area, perhaps you could share, like, if you could share one piece of advice for our viewers,
Just
our
one, 'cause
tens of
we are
viewers,
tight on time.
hundreds. Maybe we'll get to hundreds. I mean, you're a pretty big deal. But
My
what piece of advice would you share?
I really think you can't take things personally and you can't take it too seriously. So I think shooting for like the 80-20 rule where you have 20% success and 80% failure.
Wow, I had that reversed.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
I just do what works for me.
Right, that makes sense.
But yeah.
That is a good. I should switch the
20%
numbers.
success.
So I think,
Yeah.
I'm a
Okay.
winner.
keep
You are, Jane.
advice is keep moving forward, but
Yeah.
just don't take it too seriously and
It's not about
don't-
you. They're frustrated. Everyone wants what's
Yes,
best for
everyone
the
wants
patient.
best for the patient.
Okay, I'm gonna
Some
put
good
that,
advice.
file that one away. I have learned something. Okay.
Let's talk about dinner, Sarah.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm getting
We are hungry. But don't think about us. Let's think about who you would go if you could choose one person, only one, living or dead. But
Two.
presumably they would be alive for dinner.
They'd be alive for the dinner.
Yeah.
Who would you invite? And they would have to be a expert.
Okay. So I would love to go to dinner with Dr. Michael Astion.
Heard of him?
And I would also like to go to dinner with Thomas Hale, who published in 1946 in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Yes, of course.
And I'm going to paraphrase, but he said that the number of tests, the abundance of tests that are available is so extensive that is the responsibility of the physician to choose wisely which test is appropriate for their patient.
In
And this-
1946?
In 1946.
When there were how many tests?
Could
Like
we even
5.
do PCR then? I don't know.
5
Wow.
tests.
So,
Boy, that sounds great. If you end up having more seats at the table, I would really like to join you.
Last question, Sarah. What is your superpower?
it turns out my superpower is to get groups of angry people to agree with each other.
That sounds hard.
Like
Could
us.
you do that for us?
I can try.
Well, we're all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. It's been a pleasure having you here. Please join us next time on
Between Two Lattes.